Hi everybody, it's Laran again. This time I'm going to be looking over the plot of Sunday's Doctor Who episode. Something I've been looking really forward to because I wanted to be able to discuss it on when I did the last video, but the whole spoiler issue, I think that's become a habit for most Doctor Who fans. Spoilers! So if you haven't seen the episode before now, go ahead and take a look at my first blog in regards to the episode since it's more technical and just a discussion. Because today, like I said, it's going to be over the plot and the meat of the whole episode. So, to begin, we start off with an introduction of a young man who's doing his own video blog, oddly enough. And he's discussing a lady that's in his life that, was important. And then we go into the episode itself. I find it interesting that one of the companions has a condition like this. Then, they made sure to discuss it's a coordination issue. For those who don't know about dyspraxia, it can cause a lot of problems just from the simple act of walking. I believe that there are some cases serious enough where it's affected cognitive issues as well. I am not 100% about that. I do have a friend, I believe, who has this condition. It's that or something very, very close to it because it's coordination on top of some other issues. And usually, in Companions Past, most of the issues that show up are usually we've got a spoiled brat, we've got, kids that are obviously not mature enough to do, somebody who's got I honestly thought Clara had a problem with lying problem. It was almost to the point where it was pathological in a way. I don't know. But, I think it's interesting that we actually have somebody with a physical issue that could present problems in the future as well as in the current episode. The bicycle featured quite a bit. And so, he's a young man, 19, 20, trying to figure out how to ride a bike. He's never mastered that. Can't maintain his balance. Obviously has a problem with another character that was introduced. It was his grandmother as well as his step-grandfather. Interracial couple. Obviously head over heels in love. They're absolutely adorable together. Just way she would joke around and he'd just stare at her like, really? It's funny. She's a oncology nurse. He's a bus driver. And so it's an unlikely couple given, nurses usually make fairly decent money, at least that way in the US. I don't know so much about in the UK. And he's a bus driver. Bus drivers traditionally don't make that much in the US, but it was interesting the fact that they pointed that out because he went and talked to his bus driver buddies later to get information, and everybody was thinking it's not going to pan out, but the one thing that did pan out eventually was one of his bus driver buddies giving him a call. So, our young man, who goes by the name of Ryan Sinclair, has a little bit of a, what is it, the UK call them wobblies. We call them, that was a flat out tantrum, but he threw his bike over. So when he went to go get it, mistake number one, there's this really gorgeous series of images, and it wasn't obvious green screen work. It was beautifully done, so kudos to the special effects department for that one. And yeah, a Doctor Who weakness. There's a button. We have to press the button. The next thing we know, there's an ice-cold deformed Hershey Kiss on the ground. And that was my first thought, was that's a Hershey Kiss that looks like it's been sitting out too long. Of course, later we find out it's ice-cold and can't be touched because it's like, whatever. The next character we get introduced to is Yasmin Khan, or I'm not sure how they pronounce it in the UK, Khan or something like that. She's got a fairly good head on her shoulders. It's interesting because she's a probation police officer. She's on, I think, would she say, her second year of probation, and she's dealing with the traffic issue or parking. Woman, and honestly, I'll be honest, if this had happened in Texas, both women would have been in jail. There's a really bad ding on one car, and somebody put a hammer through the windshield of the next. All because you took my parking spot. And yes, believe it or not, she doesn't lose her cool. She approaches it with more logic than I have seen in several of the female Doctor Who companions in a while. She's like, parking is an issue, and we're going to be adults about this. You pay for the ding, you pay for the windshield, and we'll mark this off as lesson learned, and we are going to show the maturity about it. And you can see the two women are just got this look like, really? That's what you're going to do? I don't want to, but they accepted it because she's being the mature one and they're the ones acting like kids. So, she's fretting because she knows she can do more than parking issues. And her supervisor said, okay, well, we've got an unusual call, and sent her out to where the giant deformed Hershey kisses. And it just goes from there. They're discussing it, and she's like, you need to move this because you left it here. And he's like, there's no way I could have lifted it. She's like, well, why? She said, touch it. Like, so she does, and she realizes that thing is ice cold. There's no way a person can lift it, not without getting damage. So the scene shifts, and we're on the train. The grandparents are heading back to their home, and there's another young man on the train. And all of a sudden, power goes out, train stopped, and yeah, it's a little odd. And then all of a sudden they can't get out, and they're trying to, keep the young man away, which is another thing I like about, Ryan's grandparents. As, anyway, so this thing, it looked like something out of a bad Star Trek, and I know I've seen something similar on Star Trek before. It was a conglomeration of, best description I can give you is, any of you seen the mating coil for certain snakes? It's more than one, and it's all bundled together, and it's like writhing and just creepy as hell. Well, this one, imagine that, but it's metal. My first thought was, what the heck? What is this? And all of us, right as we're getting tense, they're looking at this thing, and then all of a sudden, bam, here comes this body dropping from the top of the train. Enter the doctor. And of course, she's on her feet, she grabs a live wire, she barbecues it, to stop it. And she's trying to figure things out, trying to do something, and, well, I'll fix this. And she's like going through her pockets. And this is the one line that cracked me up through the whole episode. Empty pockets. I hate empty pockets. That was brilliant. I loved it because she's in this tattered shirt that's obviously too big for her. I think they had to take Capaldi's old trousers and probably bring them in, otherwise she probably would have been dropping them. But it's obvious she's in the outfit, and it was hilarious because the Ryan and Yaz show up and through part of it, and she's trying to get the information from the doctor, and she's like, she's asked a question and ended it with madam, and the doctor looks at her, she's like, why are you calling me madam? Yaz freezes for a second, because you're a woman. And the reaction, like I said in the prior vlog, it was just priceless. She's like, I am? Really? How does it look on me? Does it suit me? And Fred and I were talking, during commercials, we were texting each other, and I was just like, we didn't get the ginger comment. That's comment that's been kind of moving from one generation to the next in regards to the doctor. It's like, am I ginger? But I think a lot of us are missing that particular question. But yeah, it just went from there because I liked how everything moved. They were trying to track things down, get information. Ryan checking social media. Yaz checking, the checking with the police department, and Graham, who's the step grandfather, going to check with the bus guys. And it's funny. I don't know where they come up with some of these gestures the doctor does, because she's like, oh, this nose is a good one. And she's like, I'm going to pass out in like 2 minutes and something seconds. She's like, oh, hold on a minute. She sticks her finger up her nose. And she's like, no, 19 seconds. And over she goes. Well, it obviously, if you know Doctor Who, excuse me, Doctor Who lore, regeneration is usually a difficult thing. And I love the way she described it when um, Ryan's grandmother asked her about it. It's just like, it's so much energy and it's death, and it's painful, but at the same time it's beautiful. And she's going through and describing all of this, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is the first time that the doctor has ever been asked to completely describe the process of regeneration. And, every instinct is pointing her in this direction, and she's got to follow it because she knows it's going to work. But at the same time, comments, my brain's not put together, it's still mapping, it's still reformatting. And, it's great because she's aware of her own difficulties and she's trying to describe it, and she's dealing with people who've never dealt with a Time Lord before. And some of her descriptions get a little elaborate, but a lot of the time she kept it in simple language, which for the doctor can be a little strange because 98% of the time the doctor's up here, rest of us are down here, and we're trying to, but sometimes I think his language skills and his patience keeps him at a higher level. And if you think about it, the master, or Missy later, was the same way. It was just, maybe it was a combination of way too extreme intelligence versus, mortals, us, earthlings. There's a lot that they're talking about that we don't understand because it's not even science fiction for a lot of people, in the Doctor Who universe. So I like the fact that she was able to present things in a simpler language. So it made things a lot more interesting in that obviously the people with her weren't 100% able to understand, but it was, you got less of the Jamie McCrimmon moments. It's like trying to describe something, oh, hi, I understand now, when it's obvious, he didn't. But it was a nice change of pace. It really was. So, there's a lot of comments that were made, certain things are different, and we go through, we find out there's something's killing a lot of the people. The object that Ryan had found disappeared, and they were able to track it to a warehouse where it had, it looked like it was a giant melting scene at one point, and this was before the Doctor and the companions got there, and a young man on the hunt for his sister, heartbroken, is trying to figure out, this has got to be it. And when it opens, there's this metallic figure kind of crouching, kneeling, where the Hershey Kiss thing had disintegrated. And my first thought, honestly, was a Cyberman and a Sontaran had a baby together. It was weird looking. But then the creature got up. The movement was more fluid than a Cyberman. So everybody, my friend, when she was watching it, I was actually watching the extended edition with her, which is my second time to watch that day. And her first response was, is that a Cyberman? And then she comes back, she's like, no, it moves too differently. I was just like, wait and see, because I'm not going to spoil it for her, obviously. But it winds up being a whole different creature. And I love the costuming. Oh my gosh, the armor itself, it didn't look like it was put together in a summer camp workshop. And the original, if you guys have seen some of the original Who, you'll know what I'm talking about, because some of the times the costumes looks like somebody just wrapped up somebody in aluminum foil and said, here we go, this is your alien of the week. This time, obviously not. There was a lot of attention, there was a lot of, obviously, time and energy put into this particular costume, and even more so when the helmet came off. The only quarrel I have with that particular reveal is that when they chose the speaking style, he was incredibly guttural, and it was difficult to understand him, even on the second go around. So I'm going to wait when it comes out on Blu-ray, and if there's a subtitle option, I'm going to hit it because I'd like to know kind of a lot of what he was saying. Um, the personal name, it was obvious that they were having a lot of fun with it because the doctor kept going, "Oh, Jim Shaw, Dim Shaw," constantly changing the name up every time she saw the creature, which was funny. And it was, you could tell it was getting annoying for the creature because he just, look, But apparently, we have a race who are hunters, and every so many years, there's a target chosen on Earth, and whoever wants to lead has to go without weapons, without equipment, and do the hunt. Well, slight problem. One, he's brought equipment with him. Yeah, he's cheating big time. And of course, the doctor's pointing that out, and that's irking the heck out of him. But I mean, there's a lot of scenes. I don't want to give away a lot about this episode, but there are some scenes where I'm just staring at this going, there is no way. There's just no way. Um, I don't know how many of you know those gigantic cranes that are used sometimes for loading and unloading ships and building. They're massive. I mean, we're talking skyscraper huge. And the final scene with the alien, he's climbing up one crane to get to the young man from the train who wound up being the target. And then the doctor's going up another crane with Ryan and Yaz. Of course, again, Ryan's dyspraxia shows up because he's not having an easy time with the ladder. And, she's like, you don't have a problem with heights, right? Then she gets up to the top. She's like, oh, too high. Much too high. Again, the one-liners. Perfect. And they're trying to get the cranes to match up so that they can get, target over here for his protection. Well, it didn't quite make it. And, of course, the doctor's like, okay, well, that's fine. I'll go over there then. She backs up. She makes that run and jump. Next thing you know, she's dangling from the edge of the crane. And she's like, yep, legs were a lot longer. So, I mean, I don't know how often we're going to get regeneration comments like this. I really hope it'll be for a while because there is such a transition from Capaldi to Whitaker. And the physicality is going to be different because we all know it doesn't matter if you're in A cup or in the triple digits as far as breast size. It's going to throw your balance off, hip structure, everything. So we essentially have somebody who's been in a man's body for so long that movement in a female's body is going to be completely different. So I'm hoping that might show up a bit more in a few episodes because it's a big deal. It really is. So it's something that, you obviously it's starting to showed up in the first episode. So if the writers are good about this, they could bring this in without hammering it to death in there. So without giving away too much more, I'm not going to say exactly how. We lose one of the characters, and this is where things got a little different, and different to me in a good way. We all know the doctor's not good at goodbye. Not good at all. She, the character himself, herself, funerals like that, disappears, doesn't stick around. So Ryan's dealing with the loss of his nan, and he's trying so hard to get that bicycle, and she's standing there watching him. He's constantly, he'll make it a few feet, fall over, make it a few more feet, fall over, and the camera pans out, and you can see the doctor watching him, but doesn't say anything. There's no, and then we're in another location, probably where the memorial service is being held, and she's talking to him, and he's waiting on his dad. And he's like, he's always late, never there when I need him. I need him right now, and he's not here. It's his mom. He should be here. And obviously she's listening, she's learning. And then here comes memorial service, and we learn a bit more about Graham because He had been an oncologist. He had cancer. He's still going through the remission period. And sorry, the little speech he did was really, it touched you because you got to learn a bit more. And at the same time, I think Ryan is realizing just how important his nan was to Graham. And so we're watching this, and then the camera angle changes, and there's the doctor standing in the back. So after the funeral, she looks over at Graham and she said, you know, there was a comment that had been made, and she questioned him on it. And he gave her an answer. He said he didn't expect to have that many years. He's still in remission, and he wasn't he didn't think 3 years. And of course, Miss Sinclair was all about, we've had these years together. It's more than we expected, and they were glorious. And she was a larger than life character, very protective of those she loved. And of course, at the end, is she's like, I gotta, the doctor's like, I gotta find my TARDIS. I've been here too long. And so, but it was funny because Yasmin looks there, so I understand that, but first we got to do something about your clothes. And their comment was, I'm going to need help because I haven't shopped for female clothes in a very long time. So, pan out, you're back in a boutique of some sort, and there's clothes flying everywhere. Nope, 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 nope. Yasmin's got a stack in her arms, and there's just rejects piled everywhere. And out comes Jody in the outfit that was chosen. I'll be honest with you. Boots are great. I love the coat she chose. The t-shirt, suspenders, and short pants, on the other hand, not so much. Growing up as a kid, if you wore pants like that, they went high waters. So, yeah, if she does the t-shirt and suspenders combination, we need a better shirt. The rainbow just doesn't match. My first thought was Mork and Mindy. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It may grow on me. I don't know. But again, the empty pockets. She's like, I hope somebody's got money because I have empty pockets. I can't pay for it. So yeah. And then the whole, she's trying to figure things out as far as how to get to her TARDIS. She's cobbled together this thing. And the next thing you know, microwave dings, and there's 4 people floating in space, choking. And that's how the episode ended. So, I skipped a lot through it because I don't want to hammer it to death. I know a lot of people are still trying to find time to watch. But, my favorite points, I think, are the one-liners. Empty pockets. Why is it always empty pockets? And she's looking for the one item that has been a headache for me since Christopher Eccleston. Anybody who knows Classic Who is very familiar with the sonic screwdriver. They gave it weaknesses. It can't work on wood. There's certain things it can't do. But it became the fallback for the Doctor. Can't pick a lock? Trusty screwdriver. Can't do this? Trusty screwdriver. The screwdriver can run scans on things. It can do this. It can do that. So when John Nathan Turner hired Peter Davison, he had been discussing with the writing team and saying that I really want to see more of the Doctor's wits, of the Doctor's training, and we need to get rid of the screwdriver, which it happened. I can't remember how many episodes in, but we lost it. To which point, I'm like, okay, I haven't been a part of Classic Who for very long. Like I said, Davison was my first Doctor. And so I'm like, okay, that's cool. Because it went from machine to, all right, give me XYZ, I'll build something and we could do it. It went to a sci-fi version of MacGyver, which I know Doctor Who started before MacGyver, but if you guys are familiar with the original show of MacGyver, you'll know what I'm talking about. Chewing gum, a Swiss Army knife, and a couple of pieces of foil, and he could build a bomb. Illogical, but, it's just running joke. But it was really awesome for that particular aspect, because you could see, okay, this is a guy, or a Time Lord, who isn't afraid to work with his hands. Primitive tech, no problem, we'll build something with it. But we lost that with Eccleston and, the new Who, because a sonic screwdriver yet again. And I'm like, all right, really? Can we have more gone back to the deductions, the logic, everything else, instead of, oh, let me scan this with my trusty screwdriver. So, Capaldi, when he lost his screwdriver, my first thought was, yes! No more screwdriver. He'll actually have to use something different. I was shocked, dismayed, and slightly agitated when the sonic sunglasses showed up. To which point, all the Whovians that I'm friends with point blank said it was a waste of time, it was stupid, and they don't know what the scriptwriters were thinking. So Jodie had to work a really good chunk of the episode without a sonic screwdriver. And finally, she's just like, I can build one. I have everything here I need. I can build one. This is the sonic screwdriver. I'm serious. I would not mind owning. It's unique in the design. It's clunky because it's obviously not made with Gallifreyan tech. It's all Sheffield steel and whatever she could find. And she doesn't even call it the sonic screwdriver. She calls it the sonic Swiss Army knife because it does everything except have a knife, which she says is useless anyway. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Although, admit, I really hope they keep the use of such device down to a minimum. Simply because it can become a fallback, and that type of crutch is never good. So, but yeah, all in all, plot-wise, acting-wise, everything, I found it to be absolutely phenomenal. Um, they're staying true to a lot of the Doctor Who values. When the alien of the week, at the confrontation, the human who was being hunted decided to act on his own, did something she didn't agree with, and she's like, it wasn't your call to make. So, we shall see if that type of humanness, I guess we could say, the compassion, let's see how well it develops throughout the season and what Jodie decides to do with it. But I'm hoping the writing stays as solid as what I saw. Like I said, it was well paced, well written. A long time ago, there used to be a lot of one-liners that showed up in Classic Who, and sometimes they were a little forced, but this time around, it worked. And 98% of the time, the one-liners were coming from Jodie herself, so it worked out really, really well. So what are my hopes for this season? I'd like to see Jodie step more into the role, get comfortable with it, make it her own, while still, hanging on to the aspects of the Doctor that have been the Doctor since An Unearthly Child. And for those of you who don't know Classic Who, that is the first episode ever done. The idea of having more than one or two people in the TARDIS with the Doctor is something I am looking forward to, because we're going to have less focus on interpersonal relationships to more growing as people. I'd like to see Graham and Ryan become closer as family. I'd like to see Yaz come into more of her own, because she's already showing signs of being a very determined young lady, and I think that could show up more. She's probably going to end up helping the Doctor transition from, into this particular new body, because, like we said, it's been over 1,000 years, and every form he's taken is, the Doctor's been taking, it's male. So, I'd like to see the impact of this regeneration, what it has on the Doctor, because, like I've mentioned before, the frame is completely different from what a male is used to. So, let's see, if she stays as physical as she was in the first episode, it could translate over to the other episodes in regards to trying to get used to this particular change. I don't know about whether or not the Brits will go for it, but it'd be interesting to see if Time Lord ladies have the same problem that Earth ladies do, and how that, if that's even mentioned or shows up, that would be, something unique too. So, we'll see. We'll see what the producer and the writing team have in mind. We'll see what Jodie contributes in regards to her own ideas for the character. I definitely am looking forward to this season, and just hoping that they continue to deliver like they did this last episode because it was absolutely amazing. To be honest, I wouldn't mind watching it again, but unless Dr. BBCA is re-airing it anytime soon, we'll see. But I'd like to know what you guys think about this. If you're watching this video, just leave a comment, share what you think. If you're also vloggers, shoot me a link. I'd like to see what hear what your thoughts are. I'd go ahead and pop over to your channel and take a listen. I really appreciate you guys listening and taking your time. Listen to my silly rambling. This is the third recording I have ever done. So if I'm a little nervous, I apologize. I'm still learning how to get all this handled. But I appreciate everything, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I'm looking forward to next Sunday. So here's hoping that the next episode is going to be just as great as the first. You guys be great to each other, and I will talk to you later.